Hi, guys. Welcome to the Get It Done podcast with Erin. The podcast where I talk to business owners about their business, allowing them to share their business and how they got to wherever they are. The idea, the goal, my prayer for the podcast is that someone who is afraid to start, they have a fear for whatever reason to start the thing, to do the thing, to make a move according to what works best for them. Hopefully, they are inspired by a story that they hear. During the podcast. So most cases I am talking to business owners that I do not know, I do not have a relationship with. Um, in a very few cases I do know the people, but today I don't. So I will just add Tracy to the live and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I am
Hi,
Tracy
Tracy.
Yassini. Hi. Hi. Thanks for having me, Erin.
Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Happy
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know about your business.
Yeah. So I'm Tracy Yassini. I have a grant writing. What started as a grant writing, we'll talk more about that later, consulting firm, Tracy Yassini Consulting. We focus mostly, no, I started by focusing on small and emergent nonprofits, helping them get funding. And now I'm kind of expanding into helping um, Black or Brown led smaller emergent for profits businesses get
Nice.
funding and develop kind of strategies to message better. And so that's been fun for me. And so that's why I'd like to, share more about what I do.
I love it. So how'd you get started? Where's the idea come from?
Yeah, by accident. And so I started in rare disease research, believe it or not, getting funding for that. I'm older, so I don't know how many of you remember the Human Genome Project when medical researchers were just starting to map the genetics and all the genes what make up, our human body. And so I started at City of Hope, getting funding for the Human Genome Project and um, some of the first insulin pumps actually for kids, and just different cancer research programs. And so after that, I got recruited to oversee Muscular Dystrophies Associations, was the second largest district in the nation. And I thought that the job was going to be writing grants because that's what I love. I love telling stories, but it was like back to back galas, like large scale events. And
Nice.
so it was nice, but it was 14-hour days. It was like constant. It was year round. And so this is how I got into this by accident. And so what my heart was still like with
Wait, let me
community
stop
based.
you for a minute. I'm
Okay.
sorry. So you thought it was a position to write grants, but it
Abs-
happened to be like more event planning?
Absolutely. And so I had a staff at that time of about 32 people. So what they really wanted me to do was clean house. It was like, I probably shouldn't even say the name of the organization, but I already did. They wanted me to clean house and they wanted me to hire a new staff and they wanted me to oversee these large gala events in West LA. That's really
So,
what they wanted me to do.
and they didn't tell you until after you got hired?
They kind of said, and oh, by the way, we have this coming up. Oh, by the way,
Okay. All right.
oh, by
I
the
I was
way,
just like,
these
wait, what? How? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, it was like a Twilight Zone experience. But what I saw was the huge inequity between, because my first love is really community based foundations, or not foundations, organizations or nonprofits. And so, literally, one night I was at a gala that raised over $2.5 million. They auctioned off a Cocker Spaniel for $40,000. The next
Wow.
Sunday, I'm at a pancake breakfast for a small after school program. they could barely raise $500 with pancakes. And so that was kind of like my aha moment. I'm like, something's wrong with this picture, you know? And so that's what started really me kind of going off and, consulting with organizations that resonated with kind of my personal ethos and way of being. And so because I still had to pay the bills, I kept learning and just watching what worked at American Heart Association, what worked at Muscular Dystrophy Association. And so I've been able to bring what worked and kind of apply those strategies to, what I do now. So after
What
how
was
I
your
got into,
greatest lesson in that? Sorry, because I'll
no,
forget. What was your greatest lesson while you were there learning, basically studying at the other jobs?
yeah, my greatest lesson was to not become so, not look at it as my career. It was like a switch went off in my head.
Yes.
I'm like here to be a sponge and to learn.
Yep.
And so regardless of, how I was being treated at a boardroom table, regardless of, Miss Susie not saying good morning to me for 3 years straight, I'm like, doesn't even matter.
All right.
It
I'm here for a
literally,
reason.
yes,
Yep.
yes,
When I had a job that I hated, I would just imagine that I was the owner. So I would it'll make me feel like, okay, well, you got to do it. Just do what you got to do so you can
yeah,
contribute to the cause. But yes, I get it.
exactly. Yeah, no, it was a great, great learning experience because now I realize that being in the spaces that I was in was not a usual thing. I
Yeah.
was usually most often, the majority of time, the only Black woman at the
Yeah.
table or in the
Yep.
space. And so, yeah,
That's
I feel
huge
like,
training right there in itself.
oh, yeah, to
Yeah.
see how important relationships are.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, people give to people,
Yep.
regardless of how fantastic your nonprofit might be. At the end of the day, it's if, Mrs. Scheinbaum knows Judy.
Period. Yep.
Yeah.
Relationships are very, very important.
Hmm. Hmm.
Nice. So okay, tell us more about the business. I'm sorry, I cut you off like a few times.
No,
So
no, no. It's a conversation. That's how it's supposed to go.
so where are you guys now?
So
How long
now,
have you been working on the business?
so I've been in fundraising, fund development, and grant writing for 25 years.
Nice.
I've had my consulting business for going on 11 years now.
Nice.
Hmm. Yeah. So, and it's gone up and down because sometimes I'll have a combination of where I'm working as a consultant for a large organization, or I have like city clients. And so it kind of ebbs and flows. And
Yeah.
so
Business
now
is
I really want to build to a point where I'm totally focused on, my consulting grant writing business, where, it's a mix of, for profit and nonprofit
nice.
businesses. Hmm.
I love that. What are you grateful for today?
Having choices, having the
Yes.
choice to work from wherever I want to in the world. Um, I've been traveling a lot. So I've still been able to work from anywhere in the world. And that's something I never, ever will take for granted and am extremely grateful for.
Nice. How do you find your clients?
At first, it was word of mouth.
Nice.
When I left City of Hope, actually, the whole department left. Everyone kind of scattered to different organizations. And so I got referrals like that. It was just like, oh,
The
I work with Tracy.
relationships.
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly. The relationships. Now it's a combination of still referrals. And then I have an amazing assistant, Kimberly, actively marketing, which is new for me. I only started doing it last year, but actively marketing to different platforms for people that are looking for grant writers, actively marketing on social media, um, and just like, just sending out, emails and follow-up emails and newsletters and, really building up my website. So, yeah, last year it really took off. So I'm excited about what can happen this year.
Nice. I have a client that is well, she wants to start a nonprofit, and that she was just telling me that she's looking for a grant writer, so I can send her your information. We were just talking about this like last week.
Oh,
So
wow.
I will send
Yeah.
her your way for sure.
Yeah.
Um what are you most proud of in doing this work?
Oh, gosh. Literally. So I think in terms of like, this is going to sound morbid, but like, what if I get hit, God forbid, by a Mack truck tomorrow? What's my legacy that I'm leaving? What's the whole point of my life?
Yep.
The whole point of my life is that I got a $9 million grant for a brand new library in a community that didn't have access to a library.
Nice.
So my legacy is like behind the scenes. Just for an example, because of me working for 6 months on this grant, they got it. These That's going to have a ripple effect for generations.
Yes. Yep.
When I was at City of Hope, I wrote a grant for this. There was a family of all the women. They would get a specific type of breast cancer, like for generations. And so they were going to get breast cancer and die by 55, 60. It was
Wow.
just like, or not have
Nice.
quality of life. And so I got a grant to have every woman in the family tested.
Nice.
85% of them came back with the marker, the genetic marker for that cancer, and the grant paid for either a full mastectomy or, if they decided to not do that, then they would get, treatment to address it. And so that's kind of like legacy stuff,
What has
that's
pushed you to um work in this field? Like, is there like a personal situation that you are okay with sharing that has like pushed you to do this work?
yeah. I wanted to be, my family owned one of the largest Black owned newspapers, the Florida Star. And so even though I was born and raised and grew up in California, during the summers, we would go back there and spend like a couple of weeks. I was working literally at the newspaper, either proofing from a really young age or paste up or helping in whatever way that was needed. And so I always had in my mind growing up that I wanted to be a journalist, or go into the newspaper business. And so that kind of evolved into me wanting to be a librarian, which is why that grant was so important to me. But
Nice.
so what I realized growing up and going through, college and just traveling and different experiences is that I have this gift to be able to take almost anything and create like a story and take people on a journey. And that's really what grant writing is. Yes, you need your statistics, you need your financials, your impact, but really, because people give to people, it's me telling a story about what your cause is about, what your, and so what drives me for this is that expressing that ability through different stories. And so I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's my calling.
Nice.
Mhm.
What would you say to the little girl that was in the family business helping put together the newspaper? The woman that you are today, what would you say to her now?
Oh, I would tell her nothing's permanent.
Yes.
Nothing's permanent. Don't put yourself in a box. I did that for a long time. Um, Follow your gut. I didn't do that for a long time. When I did, that's when everything kind of,
I think
yeah.
as women, we have to, because it's always there, even as a little child. For me, I can remember gut feelings, but I think there comes a day in womanhood where we're just like, we stop ignoring the gut feeling, and then it's just like from
Mhm.
here on out, when I feel it, I'm going to act on those feelings.
Mhm, mhm. It's
Which
scary. That's a scary thing also, but it's like, it feels right and it feels true, even though it's
Mhm.
scary.
Yep. Because we
Mhm.
don't know the answer. It's not. There's no proof. We just feel it. So
Mhm.
we have to
Mhm.
be bold enough to be like, well, I remember what happened last time, and all the other times I ignored it. And
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
for me, that's what's been, um, that's what's allowed me to confidently trust my gut feelings.
Mhm. Mhm.
Nice, I
Wow.
love it.
So what inspired you for the podcast? What-
Um, so I talk to a lot of people. I'm an esthetician. I talk to lots of people. And just like when we go get our hair done, our nails done, our have our services when
Mhm.
because most of my clientele are women,
Mhm.
but even men, like once people lay down to receive the service for whatever reason, they're, I guess, comfortable with sharing their life story or things that are going experiences that they're currently dealing with. And then I have a home-based studio, so they see what I'm doing. Like they see I live here, they see all these things, and then they
Mhm.
see social media and everything. So somehow the conversation leads to business. One way or another, the conversation is
Mhm.
gonna get to business.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you
and
know
a
why?
lot
Do you know
b-
why?
because I'm like, you should start a business.
That's the energy that you're giving. I get
Yeah,
it. I get that energy from you. It's very
yeah.
focused and driven.
I don't know where it comes from though. Like it's like many characteristics of me. I'm like, it has to be my grandparents or something.
Mhm.
But when they're laying there telling their stories or their plans or their goals or the things that they want, they have all these amazing ideas, but they're just scared to do it.
Mhm.
And I know that for me, being around other business owners, talking like just having this podcast, well, season 2 of the podcast, just talking to you guys, it's just inspiring. It's inspiring to be around, or I'm not
Mhm.
around you guys, but I'm having conversations with you guys.
Mhm.
And it's just inspiring to see somebody fulfill their dreams, and it helps me to be like, well, if they can do it, then I can do it. And
Mhm.
that has been my number one thing. If I'm like one of my cousins is a business owner, and it was her that inspired me because they had a shop and I would go like visit her
Mhm.
shop. And my thing was like, well, she's doing it. So, and she's my
Yeah.
older cousin. So,
Mhm.
and I opened up a clothing store because of that. Having certain conversations helped me like make certain decisions in business. So, my
Mhm.
prayer for the podcast is that somebody that is super scared to start the thing because of whatever reason, because most people think it has to be perfect or you have to have a certain amount of money or all these different things, and it's like, no, you just get up and do it and figure it out. Like even
Mhm.
with the podcast, I didn't know what I was doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I just showed up and I do the thing,
Mhm.
and I try, and I take the knowledge that I do have and I apply it to it, but I'm still learning. I don't know what I'm
Mhm.
doing. But I'm hoping that this podcast can inspire people to just get up and do it,
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
matter what it looks like.
I want to go back to your comment about your cousin and being inspired by her. Um, it's so important to surround yourself with the right people.
Yes.
You put yourself in the right spaces. You
Hmm.
know, I
Yep.
can't overstate that.
Yep.
And then the other thing that resonated with me is so, yes, I've had my consulting business for going on 11 years, but the first time I didn't get it right. The second time I was kind of clunky. The third time, the fourth time, the fifth
Yes.
time. Last year,
She's like, I'm just now showing up as it should be.
it's finally started getting traction because I found, a fee schedule that worked, that resonated with people. Yeah, and I just started putting myself. It did not happen overnight.
Yeah, it never does. Like before this, or so I had a clothing store. Before that, I would sell clothes online. After my clothing store started and failed, I would
Mhm.
in my mind, I was a florist. So I would go downtown to the flower district, girl, on the weekends.
Uh-huh.
I would go downtown to the flower district, get all these flowers wholesale early in the morning. Saturdays and Sundays, I would be on my front lawn, like making floral decor.
Wow.
Yes. And like I would get like the neighbors and stuff coming to buy flowers, and
Mm-hmm.
I even had a couple come and ask me, can I do their wedding? And I'm like, wait a minute here. But it's it's just like you just gotta get. And what I did was I said before I started, I took a couple weekends and I just studied. I sat on YouTube and I just watched all these people teach
Mm-hmm.
floral arrangements. And
Mm-hmm.
then after a while you get your own creative ideas and then you just start doing the thing. But
Mm-hmm.
like yes, that and then going back to the company that we keep is so important. Like, and I've even had a point in my life where I was just like nobody. Like I have to be so focused on what I'm doing, and because sometimes it is hard to find people that are like
Yeah, that are on
business
this. Yeah.
driven. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, well, then in those situations, you have to really buckle down and be by yourself, and it's
Mm-hmm.
temporary. It's just for a season, but I had to
Mm-hmm.
do it, and if not, it's like things don't get done. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, the people around us, it is extremely important. Thank you
Wow.
for bringing that up. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what else is kind of, I'm looking at rebranding within the next 3 months because I'm bringing on more team members. Speaking of lessons learned. And so finally, my business is taking off. What I didn't think out was my capacity.
Mm,
So, what if, like in your case, what if you get 3 weddings? How are you going to pull that off? I wasn't thinking like, you know,
right. Right.
So yeah, I'll just say this. So I asked God to do something, and then I wasn't prepared for it when it came.
Yes. Yes. And I don't think we think about that in our prayers. I don't think we think about what it is to be whatever it is that we're praying for. If we're praying to be a wife, like, do we really know what that means to be a man? Like,
Yeah,
it's like the things that we pray for, we really have to know what we're praying for and trust God that He's going to give it to us. But we have to actively prepare for the thing when it
right,
gets here.
right,
Yes.
right. And so
Huge.
the lesson last year was I over. This is a moment of vulnerability. I did not have the capacity to show up for the clients that signed on with me,
Hmm.
even with my assistant. And so this year, again, lesson learned, we're rebranding as the Grants Collective and bringing on 2 new team members.
Nice.
So
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, but I would not have known to do that unless I failed,
Yeah,
or had that
true.
challenge.
Yep. What
So,
what I did in esthetician school was because I didn't have any clientele, but I knew
mhm,
that I wanted clientele. Like I wanted to be completely booked. So then I just sat and I took a lot. Like this business has uh forced me to take a lot of personal time to focus and zone in on what it is that I'm doing. But
mhm,
I took time to sit and think, okay, once I'm completely booked, what do I need? Like what are all the things that I need? I need a really good booking system. I
mhm,
need to decide my hours. I need to decide my schedule of services. Like I had
mhm.
all these things done with no
Yeah.
no clients at all, but
Mhm.
I knew that I didn't want it to be like a mess when they showed up.
Exactly,
So I had to
exactly.
figure it out, but that goes back to like that when we're praying for the thing, we have to prepare for the thing.
Mhm,
And a
mhm,
lot of times when we're doing that, it doesn't feel like it's happening fast enough, especially when you're preparing for it. Like in your case, you weren't preparing for it, but they just showed up. But
mhm,
yeah, but for in my case, I was preparing for it and it just seemed like, okay, it's not happening.
mhm.
But slowly but surely, like over time it happened, but I was prepared for it when and I'm not completely booked all the time, so that's not what I'm saying. But
Yeah, yeah.
um when it did happen, I was already prepared for the thing. So
Mhm,
um that it's an example of both sides of the story. And I think both sides are, because in your situation, those are great lessons. Like, you won't
Yeah.
do it again.
No, because I didn't feel
Yeah.
good, the client didn't feel good,
Yeah.
and that's not how I wanna show up in the world,
Yeah.
honestly,
But
so.
it's a good time. I mean, it's a good situation for us to maintain our integrity, because when we don't properly show up, we have to like show up and say, you know what, I didn't do this right, I apologize,
Mhm,
I'm new to this. Like, we have to, that's that vulnerability that has to show up. And we
mhm.
have to learn that in business too, because a lot of businesses, they make mistakes and then they don't um
Yeah.
handle the shit, because we're human, we're gonna make mistakes. But
Mhm,
we have to
mhm,
have that, whatever so that's why I'm not scared to make mistakes, because I'm not afraid to admit it. And
mhm,
I come to the person or whatever the situation is, and I show up and I tell them, okay, this is what happened, I apologize, what do we do
mhm.
to fix it? As
Yeah,
long as there's a
a
idea
rem
to fix
a
it.
remedy.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm,
So I mean, that's a huge business lesson as well. One time I had a client,
mhm,
it's not funny.
mhm,
Because I work from home and I don't even take naps in the middle of the day anymore. I had a client. I had morning clients, and then I had a break, and then I had another client. So in that
mhm,
break, I came, lay down on my bed, and I fell asleep. And the
mhm,
client was here, and
mhm,
I fell asleep past the time. But I had to basically, I apologized, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna tell her, I'm not gonna tell her. She asked what happened, and I'm like huge on honesty, so I'm like,
mhm.
I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I fell asleep. She was
Oh
like,
god.
it's okay. But she understood. She was like, it's
Yeah.
okay. I understand. I was like, I just told her what happened. And
Uh-huh.
I fixed it. I just gave her an extra free
Okay.
service. But it was just like, in those times, we just gotta man up to whatever it is that we
Mhm,
didn't
mhm.
do right and move on.
Yeah, yeah,
But
so
they're all
looking
learning experiences.
exactly, so looking to see, how that growth happens this year with those lessons,
Yeah.
that were learned, so.
Well, I'm excited. So you said you guys are rebranding.
Yes,
What does
so,
that look like for you guys?
it looks exciting, so I got the domain, we're doing the trademark, the websites, in pre-design, it looks amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go to it, it's thegrantscollective.com. You'll see the beginnings of the website. It's just kind of fun.
Nice.
Um, but it also, represents um, the ability to bring kind of other grant writers or fund development consultants that have the same energy, to the table. So that's why I called it a collective. So
So, okay, tell me about the website.
it's live right now, but it's not fully developed. It's called
Mm-hmm.
thegrantscollective.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
yeah,
then
and
it's for other grant writers, or
yeah, so it's basically same model, that I have, tracyyassini.com, but
mm-hmm.
taking it and bringing other people to the table.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. And so one of the grant writers, Michelle, she focuses, her specialty is education
Okay.
and like after school programs. And then Tim, which is really rare to find, he's amazing. He specializes in faith based nonprofits. I
Faith.
mean,
Oh, faith
faith
based. Okay.
based. Uh-huh.
Nice.
So that's like really rare. And so, I mean, he does other types of grants too, but
Right.
it's really rare to find someone that specializes, and knows that world.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah. So looking to kind of, and then I want to focus more on for profits this year,
Nice.
new businesses, emerging businesses. Hmm.
Nice. And then how do you find your people, the other grant writers? Or is it just
Oh,
people you've known over the
people I've
years?
worked with, people
Oh,
I've worked with,
yeah.
the same.
Again, tying back to those relationships.
Yep, yep. These are literally people that I've worked with. So I actually know, I've seen them in, Zoom calls and meetings. I've seen their writing. I've seen them write successfully funded grants. So I know them, know them. Hmm.
Nice. I love that.
Mhm.
I love that you work. Like there's no greater joy for me, in my opinion, than being in the field of work that helps people. Like, and
Mhm.
you're not just like starting a business to sell things. Like you're in the field of like helping people. So I love that.
Mhm.
Like, and the joy that we get from helping the people is like way, it goes beyond the dollar.
Mhm. Mhm. I could tell this interesting story. So, my daughter, who's 20, she has a friend who's going through a really hard time.
Mhm.
She didn't have any place to stay. And so she's staying with us. I put the parameters on it and everything. And,
Aw.
um, she's just like, woe is me, woe is me. And I'm like, this is the time that you need to go volunteer at a
Yep.
homeless shelter
Yep.
or, a food bank or after school, whatever, because the confidence that you get, the joy that you get from giving to other people is,
Mhm.
you know, instead of just sitting down or,
Sitting in her
that's,
feelings or the
mhm,
situation. And
mhm,
another thing that brings is, which is a huge factor in a lot of me,
mhm,
it makes you, I guess, understand your blessings better. Like when you go help people or when you work. Before this, I was working with, I was a behavioral therapist. I work with autistic
mhm,
kids,
mhm,
kids with behavioral issues. Um, and just doing that work, like it just, all these situations in my life, like they're just like pieces of like
mhm.
reasons to be grateful in life. Like,
Exactly, exactly.
but if we can live on that rock of being just grateful, finding what we can be grateful for,
Mhm.
life is just better. Like things
It
are just better.
is.
Our perspective is different.
Mhm,
And we're able to appreciate things better.
mhm. Even when things are like during the pandemic, that was really hard for me because I had to like reinvent myself
Mhm.
completely just for income, right? Because everything stopped. And even in those moments, I'm like, oh my God, I have hot water,
Yes.
I have a shelter, I have a car with late payments, but I have a car, you
Yes.
know?
If I can go to the store, I can drive to the store.
Yeah. And then just being healthy, um, you know, as
Yes.
you saw, working with the kids with special needs, just our health, you know?
Yes. In that situation, so while I was working with the kids, I hit my head at work
Mm.
and I had to go to the hospital. Long story short, rush to the hospital. So I've always wanted to ride in an ambulance.
There's your chance. There's your chance.
Wait, so I go to the hospital and they're like,
Mhm.
"We found bleeding on your brain." Everybody's freaking out or whatever, and
Yeah.
they're like, "We're gonna have to rush you to Cedar Sinai." And I'm like, they're like, "The ambulance is on its way." So I'm like, "The ambulance?" Like what? So I'm super excited. They all think I'm crazy. Um, but that was just the fun part of that story. But
Right.
in that situation, because they said that I would possibly have to have brain surgery, and I'm like, brain surgery? I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. No brain
Mhm.
surgery, no medicine. Um, but I could have had brain surgery. Like they
Was
could
there
have.
was there bleeding still or in the
Mm-mm.
brain?
Well, eventually, no. But what I gained from that situation is, what if I would have had brain surgery, and what if they would have like cut my brain open and then accidentally cut the wrong thing, and then I would have came out not being able to talk or not being able to
Mhm.
feed myself or not be able to walk
Mhm.
or not be able to do all these things,
Mhm.
which is another piece to that being grateful thing. Couple
Mhm.
years later, because I never lost a person in my life. Couple years later, my grandfather died,
Mm.
and we're just sitting at the repast, and everybody's just like moving around all happy, and I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, so we're just supposed to like, I was talking to my aunt. I was like, we're just supposed to like move on, like keep going. And she's like, yeah, you just keep going. Life goes on, and I'm just like, but that made me like, one, be more grateful, but two, do the thing, like do all these things, because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I'm gonna be in a box one day, or I'm gonna
Yep.
be in something like dead.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was just
Well,
it's
yeah,
just all these.
what's your legacy again, because
Yep.
we will all die.
Yes,
You
that's a guarantee.
know? Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
we'll get old and we'll be like mad that we didn't do all these things that we have in our mind. Like,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah, this is what the Get It Done podcast.
Period.
The Get It Done.
Yes, it was. I'm on a mission to stop cussing. So initially it was Get Shit Done podcast, but I took the
Oh,
shit out. So it's Get It Done.
oh, that's interesting. So when I lived in Long Beach, California, I was a member of this. It was a group it's called Good Shit Long Beach. And so, so basically, it was this beautiful group that just, if you had something to give, that was nice, you just post it and the person comes pick it up.
And get
And,
it.
if you see
Nice.
something. And so this group helped me furnish my son, who he's high functioning autistic, but he's adult. He's an adult. They helped me furnish his whole like little studio apartment with free furniture.
Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
total strangers,
All right. Oh,
But
that's
anyway,
a good group to start.
yeah. Anyway, it was good shit Long Beach, still is. And so, but they put the little symbols for
The
that.
word.
Yeah,
Yeah. How cute. And
yeah.
I used to have a when I first started the name, I had a text marketing campaign I had started, and
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't let me use the word shit in it, and I remember I had to like go
Mm-hmm.
in, because at first I'm like, why are they blocking my stuff? Like, they weren't sending my stuff out. I'm
Ah,
like, what's going on? And then I had to go through all these things to talk to a customer service agent, and that's what they
uh-huh.
told me, and I'm just like, oh, sorry.
So, I mean, I'm not a person that, you know, cusses a lot unless it's, needed. But in, for your podcast name, I would consider going back to it because it's really catchy.
I know, but then the only thing that still says the Get Shit Done podcast with Erin is the email. But what God told me is, if you're trying to stop cussing, then you need to change the
Uh,
name.
okay.
And I was just like, okay, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna just use that one word. I'm gonna be able to just use that word. And
Mhm,
he was like, oh no, that's not how it works. If you're
mhm,
gonna do the
mhm.
thing, do it.
Yeah,
Um,
listen to the voice for sure.
yes. What is something you said earlier, and I was like, I'm gonna ask her. Oh, referring to social media. So how important do you think social media is in business?
I think it's hugely important because I know for a fact when people visit my website. So what happens is they get an introductory email. If they're
Mhm.
looking for grant writing services, I know without fail the first thing that they're going to do is Google Tracy Yassini. That's the first thing they're going to do, and because my last name is so unique, all of
It's
my
cute.
social media is going to come up, and so
Yeah.
they're looking at it. Actually, several people, email me. Well, I checked out your website, I checked out your Instagram, which I have to build up again. Actually, it's fine, probably. My Facebook is really active, but people, that's how they're vetting you, and so um, yeah, it's important because you have the validation there. It shows your professionalism. The stuff that I post isn't about, going out to the club or, the latest recipe. It's about grant writing and fund
Work.
development. Yeah.
I love it.
Mhm.
So you were talking about emails. So this is probably more personal for me or beneficial to
Mhm.
me. So I recently pulled all my emails together, and I have about 3,500 emails.
Wow.
What do you
Okay.
suggest I do with them?
Sign up for HubSpot, the absolute cheapest version of HubSpot.
Is that the emails? I mean, like for newsletters and stuff?
It's more, it has that as a feature, but
Okay,
really,
I signed up for it, so tell
okay.
me more, please, because I was like, I'm
So
confused.
yeah, so you're going to put your emails in there, the person's first name, last name, put the source where you got them from. That'll come into play later, right? And then you go to the email tab and create a series of at least 3 emails. You know, hi, this is Erin, blah, 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 blah. Click here to schedule with me. You always want to
Mm,
redirect them back to either your Calendly link to schedule or your website.
okay.
So those are the two, that's the first email. The second email, schedule it to go out automatically like a week or a week and a half later, to say, just checking in, make sure, to see if you had any questions, please know that I'm available, to answer, blah, blah, blah. Here's a link, you know.
Nice.
And then the third one, don't want to bother you, I understand that you're busy, just know that I'm always here as a resource for you, and by the way, here's a free gift.
Yes. Thank you.
And it's just like
Thank you.
my grant calendar or some tool that they could use. I forget what it was last time or this time. Yeah, I forget what it was. And so often I'll get leads or, schedules for exploratory calls from the second or third email.
Oh, nice. Okay, because everyone
Mhm.
I ask, they say do a newsletter, but thank you for that.
I do a newsletter,
I mean, yeah,
um, but
that's just in
the
addition to,
emails, yeah, the
yeah.
emails that's what changed last year.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
the
Thank you.
emails for
Thank you.
sure.
Nice.
So, and then, oh, this is important. So everybody on the list, unless they opt out, gets my newsletter. And so that I do through HubSpot. It's
Okay.
it's kind of clunky, but
Okay.
it,
I'm gonna
it
start
works.
playing with it next week because one night
Hmm.
I just got overwhelmed and I closed my laptop. I was like, okay, no.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm gonna work on it next week.
And I should say that the HubSpot customer service, they will literally walk you through it.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to call them. And I was like, oh, it wasn't me, it was Kimberly, but she was like, do we need to upgrade to another, level? And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm going to tell you how to work with what you got. So they're like,
Yeah.
really
They're
trying to help
helpful.
you. Hmm.
Okay. Thank you. To the girl who, or guy, I keep saying girl every time I
Hmm.
ask this question, but to the person who is afraid to start the thing, um, is overwhelmed for whatever reason, who desires to do something but is just scared to do it, what advice do you have to them,
Yeah, take it
in
in
getting started?
chunks, compartmentalize everything. Um, like with the Grant Collective, I did the website in one day. The next day, I started, the trademark paperwork. I don't take it like all at once, just like compartmentalize, take little bites
Bits
out
and
of it,
pieces.
do something, even if it's, like this week I'm actually working, I'm not working on my Grant Collective stuff, but I'll do one grants collectives activity, this weekend, just so I have that momentum still going. You
Nice.
know,
Is there
kind of
anything? Oh,
kind of
go
like
ahead.
when you're trying to like, lose weight. I mean,
Ugh.
just walk like 15 minutes.
A
That's it.
day. Yeah.
That's it. Walk 10 minutes a day, you know.
Thank you. That was for me.
Oh my God. So I went to the doctor for the first time in a long time, the whole blood panel, everything. And it's called TIA. It's like a kind of modern primary care provider, but they do
I've seen
everything.
the like ads of that.
So good. It's so
Okay.
good.
They
So
they market it very well.
yeah, and no, it's really good. And so she's like, "Are you comfortable telling us, sharing your weight with us?" And so I told her the weight that I thought I was because I was so confident that I was that weight. And then she's like, "Oh, do you know?" They're like, "Only if you're comfortable. Do you want to step on the scale?" I'm still confident in what I told her.
Right.
Well, I was 15 pounds over. Didn't have a clue.
Oh yeah, we have to weigh ourselves. But that happened to me too. I hadn't gotten on the scale in a long time because I had a habit of just doing it every day. And when I
Yeah.
got on the scale, my mind was blown. Like what?
No, I was in shock because I
Yeah.
really didn't. I was so confident. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm this," you know,
Yeah.
really believed it. I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. I mine was blown. But yes, something you said, and I was gonna ask you.
Mhm.
I forgot, but it'll come back to me. One thing that most people think about you, but it just isn't true that you can think of.
They think that I'm this like high maintenance, I lead this glamorous life and everything's easy and yeah, and I'm not that at all. I mean, it, it's funny because especially when I was doing the large gala events, that's what people, because they see you do that,
Hmm.
they think,
Yeah.
"Oh, Tracy's doing all of this." Well, A, it's hard work. You're literally on your feet from like 6 a.m. until the end of the event, which is often 11 p.m.
Dang.
Um, yeah, it was nothing like, you know,
Right.
what people think it is. So I'm actually really introverted. That's why I'm a grant writer. I like working in my space. Um, I like just, I like quiet, believe it or not, even though,
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
me.
I, this weekend was a great example. No, I went to a strategic planning retreat in Las Vegas and I literally got so overwhelmed by just, the talking and the activity. I
The
actually
people
like
and all
took
the
my
energy.
laptop, yeah, and like
Hmm.
walked away. I said, I'm just gonna do my work session, off back in my room. I'll come back.
Yeah. When I usually do things like that, because it's so high energy and after a while it just drains me, I usually just take a chair and just pull it all the way back in the back of the room up against the wall and I just sit by myself. Like that's
Mm,
the only way I'm able to like
mhm,
properly function in that environment.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, people definitely have this view of me that's not totally accurate, because that's what I portray, but really my
Mhm.
core personality is give me a book, some tea,
Yes.
I am good to go. Mhm.
I agree. Um, what would you say motivates you?
Um, oh, this is a good question. The woman in my family, yeah, just their legacy of just being either entrepreneurs or just, you know, just amazing women that just figured out a way out of no way against all odds. The legacy of educators, women in my family that are educators, teachers. Um, yeah, I have to, even it was funny, I was not close. My maternal grandmother and I hated each other, like literally could barely stand each other. And the other night I was laughing to myself because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a lot like her.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes when we
Yeah,
don't get along with certain women in our lives. Hence
yeah,
me and my mom. But we have we have
yeah.
so many similarities. In a lot of ways we're different, but in a lot of ways I'm her
Mhm,
daughter for sure.
mhm, mhm.
um, so once you're booked, busy, you feel like you fulfilled the thing, what is next for you guys? Like
Mhm.
10, 20, 30 years from now, um maybe like a week after retirement and you're looking back on the business, what will it be?
It will be that I will have raised $1 billion for for-profits and
Period.
nonprofits. Yeah, like I literally have no doubt.
I
So
love that.
yeah.
Well, I'm super excited about what you guys are doing. I'm super proud of the work that you are doing.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
to see it. Is there anything that we did not talk about that you like to share that we didn't go
No,
over?
just yeah, thank you for providing this space, creating this space
Thank you.
to share with others. That's, you know, wonderful in and of itself. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I just want to thank you for showing up for the podcast, for me,
Mhm.
for you, for your business. And like I said, I'm super excited about what it is that you're doing. I will contact you shortly for a little bit of information. But thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Erin. Have a great
Thank you.
Saturday.
Thank you, you too. It was so nice talking to you.
Right, bye.
Bye bye. Episode 20, I believe. Like, this is just flying by. I am again extremely inspired by all the business owners that I am talking to. Um, and to be talking to a woman of service. I believe service providers, and her work is a work of service, but I believe that service providers, we just have different hearts. We see things differently and we operate in a different way because of the work that we're doing. So I'm always excited to talk to people in the field of service. But if you are a business owner and you would like to share your story, I would love to have you. Um, whatever platform this is, just message me. If not, find me on Instagram, Matilda's Corner, Matilda's Corner. Um, and I'll send you the link and sign up. I am interested in talking to business owners that are interested in sharing their stories. Happy Saturday, you guys. I do I have another podcast today? No, I don't. I think I will be back Monday. Don't forget to thank God for your blessings. Don't forget to say your prayers. Don't forget to take care of your skin. I almost forgot. I'm like, it's one more thing I need them to know. If whatever platform you are watching, you are listening on, follow, subscribe. And if you know a business owner, share. Bye.